Boosie, aka Boaz, is back in the headlines, and this time it's no small matter. This isn't about dropping a new album or some viral clip blowing up online. It's way more serious. Duke the jeweler was taken out in cold blood, and now federal agents are digging deep, and Boosie's name is coming up heavy in the investigation. We're talking real evidence, official paperwork, and eyewitness statements lighting up the internet like wildfire. What started off as quiet whispers in the streets has now exploded into a full-on federal case, and the more that comes out, the more it's looking like Boosie might be tied to something deadly. From the suspicious traffic stop that got him pulled over to missing jewelry, dice games gone wrong, and witness chatter, this is way bigger than just rap drama. It all started with what looked like a simple traffic stop, but trust, there was nothing simple about it. Boosie was riding in a car when law enforcement pulled him over. No wild chase, no big scene at first. But the word spread quick. People immediately started connecting dots. Why that car? Why that exact day? It was clear this stop wasn't random. This all happened right after Duke the jeweler was shot and killed in Houston. The streets had already been buzzing, but once the feds moved in, those whispers turned into loud suspicion. Boosie getting pulled over so close to the timeline of Duke's death? Yeah, that had everybody raising eyebrows and questioning what was really going down. Then the feds officially stepped in and the whole vibe shifted. They weren't about to treat this like just another case mixed in with Boosie's past legal troubles. Nope, they made it crystal clear. They're handling this investigation solo. No distractions, no delays, no loopholes. And now the death of Duke the jeweler is being treated as a major federal case. And they're not playing around one bit. This isn't just any case. It's a full-blown, standalone federal investigation, and agents are making big moves behind the scenes. Reports say they've already split the charges apart from Boosie's other legal issues and are laser-focused on one thing: figuring out who was really around Duke the night he died, and why the whole situation felt less like a friendly dice game and more like a straight-up setup. To the feds, Boosie might be a rapper, but that means nothing in their eyes. He's now officially a person of interest in a major federal probe, and they're not sitting back waiting for him to mess up. They're building a complete timeline, piece by piece. According to Houston Police Department records, Duke had flown in from Chicago strictly for business. He was there to sell custom jewelry to Boosie. Duke was carrying over $1 million worth of custom pieces, all tucked inside a Louis Vuitton bag. Before heading to the dice game, he'd even been spotted at a celebrity boxing match, mingling with big names. Then he pulled up to the private game where Boosie and others were hanging out. Cameras even caught Duke alive and smiling, showing off his high-end work just hours before tragedy struck. But here's where things turned dark. Moments after that game wrapped, Duke was robbed and shot dead. Gone, just like that. The bag, missing, the jewelry, gone. Justice? Nowhere to be found. Boosie claimed Duke simply left on his own, and whatever happened afterward had nothing to do with him. But with Duke only coming to town for him and the timing being what it was, the feds aren't buying that story at all. That's when Duke's brother, who goes by Stax, stepped up and refused to let his brother's death fade into the background. Stax started speaking out, and what he said grabbed everyone's attention. He made it clear, no sugarcoating, that he believes Boosie set his brother up. Boosie was the last person Duke came to see, and now my brother's gone, Stax said, furious. According to Stax, this wasn't a random hit. He's been digging through videos, timestamps, and every piece of footage he can find, trying to line up the facts himself. The way Stax tells it, Duke didn't just get caught slipping. He was lined up from the start, and a lot of people are starting to believe the same thing. This whole situation is a cold lesson, and it cuts even deeper because it came from someone Duke thought he could trust. He came down thinking he was handling business with a big-name celebrity, a public figure with money, status, and power. Instead, he walked right into what now feels like an inside job. Whether Boosie was directly involved or just close by, the damage has already been done, and the facts are getting darker by the day. Let's break it down. Duke wasn't just some random guy rolling dice for fun. He was Duke the jeweler, one of the heavy hitters in the jewelry game with major clients and custom chains worth real money. That night, he was moving with serious weight, carrying over $1 million in jewelry all stuffed into a Louis Vuitton duffel bag. He brought that bag into the same room with Boosie and the rest of the crew. He wasn't hiding it either. He was showing pieces, making deals, trying to build his brand even bigger. But when that dice game ended, everything flipped. Duke's bag, gone. The jewelry, completely vanished. And Duke himself, found dead. No trace of the $1 million setup he walked in with, and all of a sudden, the cameras were conveniently turned off. Nobody claimed they saw anything, and Duke was the only one who didn't make it out alive. Now here's where it really gets crazy. Houston PD confirmed that the same Louis Vuitton bag Duke was carrying that night ended up inside Boosie's own house. Think about that. Not in a storage unit, not with a mutual friend. At his crib. Word on the street is Duke even asked Boosie to hold the bag for him while they were shooting dice. But when the night was over and Duke was gone, the bag never made its way back to his family. It was just sitting there at Boosie's place like nothing had happened. That's a huge red flag. And it doesn't stop there. If Duke trusted Boosie enough to hand over a bag worth over $1 million, why didn't Boosie call the cops after Duke was killed? Why didn't he step up and clear the air? Instead, the bag was still chilling at his spot in silence. And now we're hearing Duke's phone also mysteriously disappeared after the dice game. No bag, no jewelry, no phone, and no answers. This is way past rumors now. This is looking like a setup from the inside, and people are starting to demand the truth. Nobody wanted to admit they knew where Duke's missing phone went, but the feds, they're not stupid. Every phone leaves a tracking signature, and when investigators pulled the data, the signal didn't just vanish. It pinged straight to Boosie's recording studio. Now, we all know phones don't walk into places by themselves, so either someone in Boosie's circle scooped that phone up, or it just magically ended up there on its own. And we know that's not how this works. The studio's location matched the final ping from Duke's phone before it went completely dark. So whoever had it was either incredibly sloppy or straight up didn't care about being tracked. Either way, it's another major link dragging Boosie's name deeper into the mess. And as if things couldn't get worse, the feds moved on to Duke's rental truck. They weren't looking for random fingerprints from strangers. What they found was worse. They discovered Boosie's nephew's fingerprints inside the truck. That's not just some distant associate, that's bloodline, his inner circle. And it didn't stop there. Boosie's little cousin got tied to the crime scene too. 2 family members, both connected to the scene, and this isn't rumor or street talk, it's hard forensic evidence. Fingerprints don't lie, and the feds love that kind of evidence because it sticks. But then came the witness statement, and it painted an even clearer picture. An everyday person outside just having a smoke swore they saw Duke leaving Boosie's house, looking like everything was cool. Then, out of nowhere, Boosie's nephew appeared. Not from inside the house like you'd expect, but creeping from the side, coming from the cut. The witness said Duke saw him making the move, clocked the energy, and immediately started heading to his truck, maybe to grab his strap or just to get out of there fast. But he never made it. According to what's been floating in those Fed reports and the heavy street whispers, Duke realized too late he was being lined up. He swung on Boosie's nephew, trying to defend himself and fight his way out of the setup, but it was already too late. That's when the nephew allegedly pulled out the strap and fired. No shouting, no warning shots, no back and forth. Just one cold, calculated move, and it was over. Duke's life was ended right outside the very place he thought he was safe doing business. This wasn't some random street beef. It was personal, and the speed and precision of how it went down screams one thing. This was planned. Here's the real slip-up. The one thing keeping Boosie and his entire crew squarely under the Fed's spotlight. They allegedly held on to Duke's jewelry, the same $1 million bag filled with custom ice. Whether they outright robbed him or just never gave it back, the fact is this: they kept it. That bag stayed in Boosie's possession, and Duke's phone, it ended up at his studio. You can't talk your way out of that. Even if they had nothing to do with the actual shooting, holding onto the jewelry ties them straight to the crime scene. That's evidence, that's motive, and that's exactly how the feds build airtight cases. Once the chain of possession was traced, it was basically a wrap. But things are about to get even messier. Now people are asking about Jay Prince. Because if Jay Prince really runs Houston like everyone says he does, how could something this big go down on his turf without him knowing? Jay Prince is infamous for that check-in culture. When outsiders pull up to Houston, they're expected to check in or risk getting robbed, or worse, disappearing altogether. So here's the question. If Duke checked in while he was in town doing business, then this whole thing looks even worse. Because that would mean someone allowed it to happen. Even people tied to mob ties are whispering that Boosie's nephew might have acted on his own. But others are pointing straight at Jay Prince, accusing him of letting this whole thing slide. And then there's another angle that can't be ignored. Sources close to the situation say Duke wasn't just chilling at the dice game, he was winning big. He wasn't just taking home a little cash, he was cleaning people out, even some of Boosie's own crew. That's when the energy in the room shifted. What started as a fun, friendly game suddenly turned into a threat to somebody's pride and pockets. You already know how fragile egos get when big money's involved. As Duke's stack kept growing higher and higher, the vibe got real tense. And then the room went cold silent. So now we're left asking, what really happened that night? Was this an inside setup from the very start? Or did a heated dice game spiral completely out of control? And the biggest question of all, will Boosie be the one who takes the fall for everything? Or is he just the face tied to a much bigger play behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's break this all the way down. And if you're ready for more unfiltered industry secrets and stories that never make the headlines, hit that subscribe, tap the bell, and check the next video on your screen. You definitely don't want to miss it.